Hello, how are you? I'm Jeff Noedel. It's Tuesday, October 24th, 2023, and with me is Heather Spaulding, the editor of the Two-Shot, please, the editor of the Journal of the San Juan Islands, this beautiful paper. And the good news is that Heather came back for a second dose of this after last week. The first show was last week, and that is on the CNL2 website. It was a nice interview, I thought. You did a good job. So you can watch that. We'll keep that up for a long time, maybe forever.
Forever and ever.
If you ever want us to take any of those down, you have to come back and replace it with a new one. So if you want us to get rid of some, you got to help us make more. You're stuck now.
I'm stuck. Oh, dear.
Just kidding. But we don't have a name for this show. So you might want to think about a name for the show, because when I come up with names, they tend to be kind of crazy. So
all right. I'll think on that.
this is all starting to feel like extortion. I'm just extorting you into you name it. And you're obligated now to make more shows. Sorry about that.
No,
well, so the purpose of this, whatever we call it, the purpose is to discuss, come back to me, please. Thank you. To discuss the rest of the story, to offer additional insights in the content of that week's paper, which comes out on a Tuesday. Do all three papers come out on a Tuesday?
Yes.
So when I say three papers, we're talking about the Journal of San Juan Islands, which is Heather's, is the editor, and then the Island Sounder, which is Orca's, right? Mm-hmm. And then Lopez's paper is the Islands Weekly. And you're mainly responsible for this. Mm-hmm. However, like the top of fold paper, story this week also shows up in all three of them, or?
Definitely the weekly.
It's probably, maybe not. So anyway, the point is that you should probably subscribe to all three, because there is unique content in all three. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah. So
each island wants to know about their things. So.
And maybe many people on San Juan Island would like to know what's going on in the other islands, mm-hmm. and vice versa. So really, to get a total picture, you could subscribe to all three. Does anybody do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Good. So this week we're going to, and by the way, this is live. We're doing this live. It's about 11:16 in the morning on Tuesday. We'll also record this, and then you can watch this at any time in the future, particularly over the next week. And next week, if you come back a third time, we will, I think, be ready. We really are ready right now to take phone calls. No one's watching, so live, but probably more and more people will be watching the taped version.
I hope so.
But I think that in the next week, we will use a little bit of social media to try to get some live audience. And if you're watching live, you will be able to phone us with your questions or your comments to this great editor. So that would be next week. And I think, starting today, we will be live from here on out with this show. We don't really want to tape this, because when we tape it, we preclude the ability for you to call in and participate in the conversation. So the times may change a little bit based on people's schedules, but hopefully about this time, usually on a Tuesday. And the other thing, too, we've talked about is there might be other personnel with Sound Publishing who may join you or just completely stand in. And also we may have some Sound Publishing personnel that could appear remotely via Zoom. So we also have that ability. So not everybody has to get on a boat and get over here. We wouldn't want to do that. Then I can't promise a show. Sorry. All right. Well, so talking about this issue, which just came out this morning, the lead story is San Juan County celebrates 150th anniversary on Halloween. Big story, and this is written by Isabel Ashley. We'll talk a little bit more about Isabel next week, but I can tell you, having read it this morning, it is very well written. Good job, Isabel.
Yeah, yes, I agree.
This is a well-written piece. So,
and she did that like in quite a hurry too.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's well done, and there's a lot of moving parts to that story. Talk a little bit about that. So there is going to be some sort of collaboration with, well, first of all, why don't you just set the whole thing up?
Yeah, well, we found out, I didn't realize that the anniversary was on Halloween, which I think is really cool. And the county reached out to us to participate, which I think is going to be really exciting. I myself have not had a lot of time over the last week to do anything with that yet, but I'm definitely going to, and I will do whatever they need or want, and because I think it's a really cool thing. It's 150 years is a long time, and think about the changes that have happened to this county over that time. Has been pretty huge.
So there's a call for old photos.
Yeah.
Right? And Jeremy, I think you have the web address. It's pretty long, so we're also going to put that in a link. There it is. That's not it. It's the other one. That one's long enough, and the other one's even longer. I would recommend that San Juan County maybe use a thing called Tiny URL, which compresses.
Right.
So anyway, none of our audience would be able to jot that down, but that will be on it already is on, Jeremy tells me, already is on the page, the web page that you're viewing this on. So if you want to click down there, what kind of photos are they looking for? Do you know?
A lot of, old photographs too. So any old Islanders that have things in their photo albums, anything of interest, anything that talks about historical moments that the county has been through, would be great. And there's a lot that are not so old. I mean, we've been through a lot. We've got, stories about the fire that happened in Friday Harbor. And we've actually had a couple of fires over the last 20 years in Friday Harbor. We have had the fishing bolt decision of the 70s. There was a lot going on there that affected this county, and the fishermen in this county responded to. So it doesn't have to be, old-timey 1800s photos. It can be anything of significance that occurred, anything that you think is of significance, We're all part of this county, and we're all, contribute to it.
So since this is web-based, can people submit these images electronically?
Yeah.
If they have a scanner?
If they have a scanner, yeah, they scan it and download it. I have not done that yet, but I am assured it's very easy to do.
Okay.
So you go to the link that you provide, and then they'll have the instructions.
So go to your child and ask them to help you
Yeah.
scan, because your $30 printer probably can scan. And then usually with submitted photos, what they're really looking for also is context. So who is this? Where are they in the picture? Far left, center.
Right.
Who are they? What were their title? What's their relationship to you? And so you haven't seen this. Might be a text window where they can enter.
Yeah, I have not actually tried to
Okay.
submit it, but they do have the instructions
Okay.
all the way through to prompt you.
Well, maybe in the next week we can try to look at that and see what the user
People through it a little
user experience is, or maybe have somebody from the county.
Yeah.
We can move the furniture around here and get a third chair in here. So
I'm sure they'd love to do that.
we should do that.
People.
And then finally, you talk about in the article that there are going to be pop-up celebrations. What is that?
So one that's happening on San Juan is they are going to be having haunted house tours at the courthouse. The courthouse has been rumored to have a number of ghosts, of which the Superior Court clerks can tell you about,
Really? Cool.
of which people who have had to go down to the basement of the courthouse. So any county employee that's had experience going in the basement, there's stories there. Yeah.
That sounds
So
fun.
they are going to do that. Then on Orcas, they're going to bring the Lucy van, the wellness van, over and participate in their Halloween celebrations. And then same thing on Lopez. They're going to participate in the Lopez Halloweens.
So really, I read it's a year long. These pop-ups and events are going to go starting on Halloween and go for the whole year.
Yep.
So 150 years old.
150.
Who was president 150 years ago? Who knows?
I don't know off the top of my head.
You call, I don't know our phone number. Call 745, what's our number? CNL2. Call 360 745 CNL2 if you know who was the president 150 years ago. Please. You got about 5 or 10 more minutes. You will win a Crow's Nest coffee gift certificate for $5?
Yeah. Oh, $10.
$10. That's
$10.
2 drinks, probably. Who was president? Really, what you'll be doing is you'll be demonstrating that there is one person out there watching.
Who knows?
Watching. Whoever you say, we're going to accept that was president, and we're going to give you Crow's coffee. So we do have phones. The phones are waiting. Nobody there. All right. Well, you'll be sorry when you watch this on tape because you could have had 2 free coffees from your Crow's Nest. That'll teach you. That's how we're going to do our promotions. Here's what you missed by not listening.
We'll be doing this kind of thing down the roads.
Punishment. All right. Well, all right. So the second story I wanted to talk about is flow.
Yeah.
FLOW. You've got a story that I wrote.
Thank you for that.
Under the name of CNL2 News Service. And then that same story includes a feature photo of a really cool photo of one of the boats going through around the corner of top of Lopez. We don't have a zoom on this, so here's your zoom. Here's
Check
your zoom.
out the
how
journal.
long my arms
Check
are.
out the journal.
And that was taken by that's a drone shot taken by Jeremy Tyler, and it's one of the better pictures I've ever seen of a ferry.
Beautiful.
I think.
Colors in it.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. Well, anyway, so I wrote an article, and then Fred Yocker, who was kind of is sparking this whole thing, wrote a letter to the editor. Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's a guest column.
Okay.
Talking about what inspired him. He started a Facebook page called The Last Ferry Left. So that kind of kicked things off.
And so buy the paper. We're not going to sit here and read you the paper. But to just give a flavor of that, I actually attended that first meeting 13 days ago. And it was about, I guess, a dozen people. One of the most interesting things I didn't have time to write about, and you didn't have the space to cover it, was a woman who came all the way up from Vashon. Can you imagine? Just to attend a 2-hour meeting like that, grassroots thing.
Yeah. You're not just talking ferry rides either. You're talking like a drive and then a 2-hour ferry ride.
And ferry ride.
Yeah.
Well, two ferry rides and a giant drive just to be there. And she is I don't have my notes, I don't remember her name, but she is a teacher on Vashon who is having a tough time getting a job as a teacher off of island because the employers don't believe she could be there. Right. So it's actually, seriously the Vashon situation, which resembles ours because it's the only other ferry route for which there is no bridge, no land bridge. So they're experiencing we have kind of natural allies now. We're natural allies with Vashon. Anyway, it was amazing that she came up there and added a lot to the meeting. And then when the meeting was over, she immediately said, who can recommend a bar? Because she had 2 hours to kill for the next ferry, and there were a lot of recommendations. So what bar she should go to. I don't know, maybe somebody
It's hilarious.
But so Flow, in my view, as an eyewitness to that meeting, it's a collection of very different people with different backgrounds who are fed up. They're just fed up. The way I see this is that as recent as 5 years ago, maybe even in some cases 3 years ago, people would brag on the Washington State ferries, biggest or best in the country. And I guess a lot of it started with COVID, although the old boats didn't start with COVID, but the staffing problem started with COVID. And then the old boats are just catching up with us, that reality. And between those two things, it seems to me like Washington State Ferries, as a franchise, good people. I'm sure good people all the way to the top. But the franchise has used up the equity it had, the goodwill that it had. And now you're here at a point where private citizens are trying to take it upon themselves to find solutions. One of the most interesting things that came out of that meeting was the Interfaith Council. I don't know exactly what they call it. Usually that's what they call it in most towns. But the collection of the liaison between the churches has decided that we can't have a repeat of having all the stranded. Now, their focus was walk-on passengers, but the people were stranded in their cars too in Memorial Day, that debacle. And they just their request through their representatives is that the state call San Juan County 911 to let them know if there's been a cancellation, especially the last of the night, so that you're going to have stranded people. And then the sheriff would agree. They propose to contact these church people, which also, at least one of them is Red Cross trained, and they will activate basically a Red Cross situation with cots and water and food and bathrooms and all these things that you might maybe think maybe Washington State Ferries maybe should be doing anyway, but they're not. So there was a real grassroots energy in the meeting, and they're looking. They want to use private ferries as much as they can to fill gaps when boats are canceled. Others are in quest for facts. They feel the opinion that was advanced by several people in that meeting was that the state is not as transparent as it could be with facts. There were some questions about the quality of the on-time performance stats, because apparently it's alleged that they don't include cancellations. They also don't distinguish between little delays and massive delays. So there is the organizer, Fred Yocker, at one point was kind of thinking out loud about all the ways that he could get the state's attention and the legislature's attention, and he proposed that, or he just asked aloud, could we get 1,000 people to stand in the road outside of King's in that intersection and take a group picture of, like a greeting card to the state legislature. We've had it. And here's 1,000 of us. A lot of emphasis on the state legislature, obviously, which is probably where it needs to be. Yeah. But they're having another meeting tomorrow. And remember, this is Tuesday late morning. They're meeting tomorrow and I can say this because I asked and they said it's open to anyone, on the upper floor of Key Bank, I think, at 1. At 1 o'clock, right? Yeah. 1 p.m. So if you want to add yourself to that group. I don't think anyone has a title yet. Tom Starr, I think, is
he's
temporarily running it, but
right.
he's definitely looking for some help in that. And they really would like to kind of pin down sort of a chairman type to about half a dozen different initiatives or directions. So I did all the talking there. Sorry.
No, you were at the meeting,
I was
so
there.
that was
right.
great. I'm
That's
glad
the
you
only
did
reason
that.
I did all that is that I was there.
Yeah.
A lot more. If you're at all interested in that, though, you really should go to the paper, today's paper, where you can see everything I just said because I wrote it all. But you can also see Fred's guest column in his own words, and you can decide for yourself if you think they're on the right track. If you do, or if you think they're on the wrong track, they probably should show up too. It's very open, very informal, but also they are very action oriented. They are not talking. They're not interested in talk. They want action, and they're not in some areas willing to wait. They're going to start taking that action themselves. So very interesting development.
I think their ideas are pretty interesting too, and not they're just throwing things around right now.
Right.
So
no commitments have been made, and the biggest achievement I think of the meeting was that they named it Flow. You want to talk about
Sure. We'll talk about Flow. I actually knew Howard Schoenberger a little bit. He was, anyone who lived here in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s would know who he is. He wrote a column called Ferry Home Companion for a while, and was a well-loved column. He was just a well-loved guy. He was a writer and our sales rep, and just, would love to go around town and talk to people and figure out what's going on.
So it's thought that he coined the phrase FLOW, Ferry Lovers of Washington?
Well, that I don't know. He may have, Flo, because he definitely was one that, started that.
Well, the group 2 weeks ago credited him, and they said that it would be, he would consider it a tribute.
Yeah.
I guess we'll never know if he invented that or if he heard that somewhere else, but...
I'm sure somebody knows.
There is already a bit of history in the name of this group. It's almost a tribute.
Yeah, for sure. It's a tribute to him. Because he was definitely involved in that. If he didn't coin the phrase, then he definitely was heavily involved.
Sounds like it was one of his catchphrases, maybe.
Yeah.
So I have some background in journalism myself. And so when I look at any newspaper, I kind of always have a hunch about what the real winners are, what the favorite columns and the favorite articles. And again, we have no Zoom, but maybe we'll lay this in post-production. Meet Ron and Sammy, Pets of the Week. Picture of two kitty cats. And I'm guessing that this is one of those go-to parts of the paper where people would be disappointed if there's nothing there.
Yeah, I think they do such a good job in writing that up and submitting it. And I'm assuming they keep doing it, so I'm assuming it helps find these animals homes. Ron and Sammy just sound adorable. They're siblings, and he is quite the go-getter, and she is more of a cautious one.
Do you remember how old they are?
9, I think it said 9 weeks, 9 months. 9 weeks.
9 something, not 9 years.
Not 9 years.
Okay.
They're kittens. They're considered kittens.
The difference between 9 weeks and 9 months, not that big. But, well, that'd be great. And take a look also in the paper for that. There's a lot more to read in case you have room for 2 more. They'd probably like to adopt them out as a group.
I think they'd like to adopt them out as a pair. But they do have just all kinds of animals. The other week, I don't remember if it was last week or the week before, but they had a blind cat that was, he was feral. He'd survived for years. He was not a young cat. He was like maybe 7 or 8 years old. And he survived out there in the wild blind.
Wow.
So, I hope he found a home or finds one soon.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we'll check and see if he found a home. Yeah, I know that the island has a big heart for these
we love our
stories.
critters.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, well, so there you go. We gave you many reasons to pick up all three papers, or at least we talked about one of them, but all three are great. There's unique content between all three. And my favorite, the Sounder, has one of these.
Island Market insert.
Grocery insert, which I think these are great. These are fun. So in my long career in advertising, I had a client for 11 years that put one of these out in St. Louis. And I know how much work this is, and so I'm totally biased, but I think they're kind of fun. And, there will be life after Amazon, I hope. That is a show I'm going to do to piss off even more people. But we do need to keep our local retail as strong as possible. And so I'm very happy to see things like this in a local newspaper. And I hope I'm not just being old-fashioned, but if we want strong communities, I don't know how we can do that if we give up things like this. Hold it up, right, Jeff? Things like the paper. This is local community. This is the strength. This should be the future. But in America, we're losing 2 local newspapers a week, not a month, or week. And that becomes ultimately a decision of the readers. If you don't care, then that could be the future. If you do care, then read the local ads. Pay attention to local ads. Buy local ads. We talked last week about the ratio of advertising to news is directly related. It's driven not by how much news there is. It's driven by how much advertising there is. You could, if you wanted to, I'm sure you could do a 60-page newspaper if you wanted to. There's so much going on in this county. But it is strictly dictated by revenue, which is, fairly static in subscriptions. I'd sure love to see that go up for you a little bit. But it's the dynamic, the real variable is how much display advertising there is. And classified, I guess. Is classified still a big deal?
It also has taken a little bit of a hit. We're a little smaller than we used to be, but it's still a deal. And people still call us up, want to place their garage sale ads and all of that. So
I guess what I'm saying is that if you're open to it, if you can afford a few extra dollars to market your events, to take the time to put together a sale, if you have a message, don't just rely on social media, because you're not strengthening any community institutions like that when you do that. Take some time. You have a good sales rep. Craft your message and put it in here, and you'll reach an audience with a very good message, and you'll also be strengthening this institution because strong newspapers keep us all well informed. For instance, fire. There's a great piece in your paper, bottom of the fold, front page, talking to the San Juan Fire Commissioner candidates. So it strengthens our system, and it also keeps our government more honest. It's a matter of fact. So thank you, Heather.
Yeah,
we got through another one of these. Nobody called for your crow's nest coffee certificate, so we'll give that away next week. But anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you. Can you do this again next week?
yeah,
Okay.
let's do it again next week.
Glutton for punishment. So 11 o'clock a.m. next Tuesday. We'll see you again.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.